Hey, what's up, everybody? Hope your week is off to a great start. We'll let some people join here. Looks like we got everything synced up. And if you're hopping on, feel free to drop a message. Make sure that y'all can hear me. Looks like we got some people hopping on. Perfect. All right. So today's live, what I want to talk about is speaking opportunities, the different types of speaking opportunities, specifically how I've gotten speaking opportunities and what the types of opportunities that there are out there. And I'll break it down into 3 different formats. Hey, what's going on? Appreciate you hopping on. I don't know why I can't see who that is, but thanks for joining today. If you guys have any questions throughout this session, feel free to just drop them in the comments below. I anticipate this being about 30 minutes, but it can go shorter, it can go longer. Just kind of depends on how many questions you all have and how quickly we get through some of this content. So bring everything full circle. Essentially, I made a post last week about how I got my first paid speaking gig of 2024 and started to get, I got over 400 likes in comments on it. And then I started to get my DMs blown up about, hey, Adam, specifically, like, how did you get a speaking opportunity? Some people are looking for their first speaking opportunity, and other people were like, hey, how are you getting paid? I've done a ton of different speaking engagements, but I've never gotten paid for it. So I'm going to walk you through this stuff back here in a second, but just want to kick off again with the Builders of Authority as far as everything that we're doing here. So this is live in the Builders of Authority Facebook group. It's live on my Facebook. It's live on LinkedIn. It's live on YouTube as well. So if you haven't joined the free Facebook group yet, definitely do that. We have these trainings each and every single week, and a lot of good conversations, a lot of collaboration, and all that stuff that's happening in there. We also have our Builders of Authority Mastermind. So basically, it's 3 calls a week, 2 weekly office hours on Monday and Friday. And then we will actually be breaking down this specific training in our mastermind call tomorrow. So if you're looking for more assistance, more guidance on personal branding, if you want to get more speaking opportunities, if you want to get paid for speaking opportunities this year, or you just want to grow your personal brand in whatever facet that is, definitely click the link in this video. We are increasing pricing actually officially this week. So I know I've talked about that for a while, but had a couple other people that wanted to get in at $250. So I'm just leaving that link up there for a couple, really tomorrow, I think is when we're actually having everything synced up to increase it. So $250 a month or $2,500 a year. It's going to go up to $500,000 and $5,000 for the year. So I'm not going to be discounting it anymore, anything like that. You're getting an absolute steal at $250. Just ask any of the group members that are currently in there. They're already winning. They're already having extreme success with personal branding here in 2024. So I don't want to go too much further in that, but I know I'm getting a lot of questions about the mastermind, all those good things. Definitely make sure that you join that. So what we're going to talk about here today, I got some notes here on my phone of just the different types of speaking opportunities that are out there. So in our mastermind call yesterday, one of our students actually asked, hey, Adam, I got this pretty good opportunity, but they're actually asking me to pay to go to the event. They're requiring me to, book my own travel, pay for my flight, pay for my hotel, and obviously food and expenses. And then if I want more exposure, they want me to get a booth or sponsor it of some sort. They're like, I didn't necessarily know if I wanted to do that because I feel like I have enough value where I should be getting paid to speak. So everybody's mind goes to how do I get paid to speak? I'll be honest. I've been paid anywhere from $500 to $3,000 to speak at an event, anywhere from 30 minutes to 2 1-hour sessions. And while we all would love to get paid to speak, what most people don't realize is that when you're getting paid to speak, it's usually not your ideal audience in terms of how your business can grow, right? So I'll just give you an example of some of the paid speaking gigs that I've done. One was at a high school. Can't actually go sell anything to any students that are there at the high school, right? They might go back to their parents and talk about like what I'm doing at Height or what Builders of Authority is, but like they can't exchange their money with me, right? Another was a food vendor event that was over the summer where they invited a bunch of their distributors, their employees. Basically, I was going into their environment and talking about the importance of digital marketing and mindset, motivation, etc. Wasn't going to sell anything there. And the other one is a court system here in the state of Missouri that wants me to talk to their employees about how they should be using personal branding. They should be using social media and a variety of other aspects. But they're paying me for my expertise in that area, not because I'm not taking that opportunity because I'm ultimately going to be able to sell more from that. So the reason why I start there is because I got so many messages, so many comments about, hey, Adam, how do I get paid to do this stuff? The opportunity, like if you're looking at opportunity costs, one of the biggest opportunities to actually quote unquote get paid is on the back end when you're actually paying to be on a stage. So we're going to go through some of those different factors here, but I just wanted to start with that because everybody thinks, oh, it's awesome to go get paid and it's awesome to go do those things. Unless you're like a very big influencer or the Kevin Harringtons, the John Maxwells of the world, Ed Milet's, you're typically not getting paid and going to be able to sell into that audience immediately, right? So just like wanted to start out with that there. So the three different categories that I typically think of, and other people might say this different. I'm not a speaking coach, so I have no idea. I'm just giving this from my personal aspect of how I've gone about different speaking events. So we have these three main categories here. We have free. So free is really two different aspects. Is one, you are asked to go to like a local event or somebody's event, and they're going to pay for your expenses, your travel, etc. So technically it's like nothing out of your pocket other than the ability to show up in your time at that event. You're not getting compensated for your time, but you're also not spending anything, or it's a local event where you can just like show up and drive home, right after it. So think of these types of opportunities like your B&Is or local, sorry, my handwriting's not great, but like local events, and then other events where people are paying for your travel. So travel paid, we'll just classify it as that. So we have like the B&I, the local type events. We have the travel stuff, right? So the other types of events are like where you're going to go pay to speak on stage. So it might be like next week we're going to Job Tread, for example. It's a bunch of our ideal clients. We already have clients in that community. We're a partner of their entire CRM platform, and we got a sponsorship. And with that, I get to speak. So think about like sponsorships. Think about industry events. And just think about like anything where you can go pay somebody to like get on their stuff. So like another form of this would be, I want to go pay to be on somebody's podcast because their entire ideal or their audience is my ideal audience as well. So you're like exchanging money and paying for your travel and doing all those things to be at that event. And then you have like getting paid, right? So they're paying for your expertise, knowledge, and connections. Sorry if you guys can't read that. My handwriting's not great, especially on this board. It's a little wobbly. But I wanted to kind of write some of this stuff out. So we got these three different opportunities, right? And so everybody wants this. Everybody's typically doing this, but they're really afraid to like do this, right? So next week at that Job Tread event, we're going to be in front of a bunch of our clients, a bunch of our ideal clients, and we're going to speak on what we are experts on, which is how to dominate online in digital marketing in 2024 and all those types of things. So our goal is obviously we want to pay to be at the event. We're sending team members. We're doing all of that stuff with the goal of obviously getting clients, getting exposure, all of that stuff. We're not pitching from stage. We're not doing any of that type of stuff, but we're going to provide value in return, hopefully getting a significant return on investment. So most people are doing this, afraid to do this, but want this. This is a huge opportunity right here in the middle. This is what we're currently doing. We probably should be doing more of to create the value and create the opportunities here, right? Because not anybody can just go speak on somebody's stage. You got to be good at speaking and also pay. People aren't just going to take your money 9 times out of 10 unless you're a good speaker that can provide value, that has something to be able to actually exchange in terms of value in education and information in order to get here, right? So those are some of the different aspects, right? So those are some of the different examples. I'm going to erase this here real quick and talk about what you need to consider when doing all these different events. Because somebody might be like, Adam, if you're getting paid to go speak at an event, but you're not going to get more clients from it, why are you doing it, right? So it can't just be about the money, right? Because typically people that are getting paid to go speak on stage don't need the money. But where the connection lies in is it was a high school. It was a connection that I had to this company that ended up reaching out that wanted me to go speak to all of their employees and some of their distributors. And then it's a Missouri, judicial system that has a bunch of good contacts that I want in there. So typically what it needs to happen, what you have to have here is you have to have impact, right? You have to connect with their values. Missions could be aligned. So if it was like a nonprofit or something where you're just like, hey, I really, really want to get behind their mission, but you're also doing it for the connections, right? So I'm doing this not necessarily as a favor because they're paying you, but I want to get connected to more people that are in that ecosystem, right? So here, when you're taking a look at like, who should I be looking for to go get these paying opportunities where I'm going to go actually pay money, pay for travel expenses, pay for all these things in order to do that, you have to be focused on, is it my ideal client profile that's in the audience, right? So is my ideal client profile going to be there? You might think that it's expensive to go do an industry event or to pay for a sponsorship or do any of those things. But when are you actually going to get in front of like 300 or 400 of your ideal clients in a 45-minute or hour-long session? It would cost you a lot of money in paid ads and lead generation and all these things in order to do that. So by exchanging your money for doing that, you're paying for ease of access to information. You're paid to get on somebody else's stage that they've already spent a bunch of time, energy, resources, and money and reputation building. So you need to be focused on the ICP. You need to also be focused on the content, right? So one of the things I'm going to talk about like holistically is how you take one speaking opportunity and turn that one speaking opportunity into more opportunities because you have all of this content that's there. So is it going to be a really cool event? Like it might not be my ICP per se, but I'm going to be sharing the stage with John Maxwell, Kevin Harrington, Willie Robertson, all of those things. I might want to go and do that because if I'm on stage with them, if that event is promoting me, and I'm able to share content that I'm literally on stage with these people, well, then I know that my business is going to grow from it. And I know I'm going to be able to go get more opportunities, and I'm going to be able to have content to share all over social media after the fact that I was shaking hands with X, Y, and Z and on stage with them. Free, right? These are some of the things that you have to take into consideration when you're taking a look at free opportunities. Some of the stuff is all the same, right? So if I'm going to go do a free opportunity or somebody's going to pay me to be able to go do it, can I get experience? So a lot of the times why free is great is because you need experience in order to maximize the paying opportunities and to even put yourself in an environment where somebody is going to actually pay you, right? You also need to be building the confidence, right? So somebody reached out to me. It's a great guy I've known for a very long time. Said, hey, Adam, I'm looking for my first speaking engagement. How do I get paid? Right? It's kind of like the guru thing online where literally people are like, oh my gosh, I want to go make a bunch of money. It took me almost 50 events where I spoke at either virtually or in person over the last couple of years to get paid for the first time this past summer. Right? And I've been paid 3 or 4 times since. I'm getting paid again here this year, and I'll continue to get paid, right? But you can't go here without going here and here, right? So everybody wants to be here, but they're afraid to go here and here. You got to be able to have the confidence that you can actually speak and to have the confidence in yourself that you're going to go crush a stage and turn that paid opportunity where you're paying somebody money in order to go get return on investment for your business or anything else. So that's kind of the value adder of what you need to be thinking about doing. Now, you might be thinking, okay, hey, Adam, I understand this. Like, this all makes sense. Where do I go find these things? Well, in 2022, I had never spoke on somebody else's stage other than my own. So if you're struggling to get opportunities and you're like, man, Adam, I've been trying to freaking get people's opportunities. I've been trying to get opportunities from other people. I've asked to go speak on people's stages. I haven't typically asked to be on somebody else's stage unless I provided a ton of freaking value. And even then, I haven't necessarily done that. Right now, I know that they will accept people if you pay money and all those things. It doesn't hurt to make the offer. But if all you're doing is making offers to be on other people's stage, there's probably something else you need to be doing first. Right? Take the low level opportunities. Take the opportunities at any of these local events. You can even take a BNI. I'm not a huge fan of BNI, but like any of those local networking groups. And when you're doing your 10, 20-minute presentation, have people take pictures and videos of you speaking at that event so you can go repurpose the content and get more of these opportunities. Something simple and small there. But the best piece of advice that I can give you, if you're like frustrated, you're like, man, Adam, I want to speak and I can't figure out these opportunities. Build your own stage. In November of 2021, I threw an event here in St. Louis. I forked up all the money. We're going to be throwing another event in March 13th in St. Louis. So mark that on your calendars. We're going to start selling tickets next week. I made a post a couple weeks ago. I spent close to $8,000 on that event out of my own pocket. I didn't charge anybody to come. Now, we went all out. I had a nice meeting space at Spark downtown in St. Louis. I took everybody to a VIP suite at the Blues game, and that was like a blowout event, right? Well, we ended up doing $72,000 in sales from that 8K of that event over the course of the next year. Now, pretty good return on investment, of course, over the course of a year, but more importantly, I built my own stage, spoke on that stage, invited key people into that I knew that I could get in my ecosystem and then be able to sell them something. But more importantly, take the content, take the cool videos, take all that stuff, repurpose it in my personal brand and go get more people to do business with me. People saw that I threw this event. They saw that I had the speakers. They saw that I took people to a Blues game. Well, now that's going to allow me to charge for this next event, probably break even, but not lose money or cost me money. And more importantly, be able to have a higher quality event. But that event in November of 2021 catapulted me into 2022, where I literally said, my goal this year is to speak on 5 stages. Well, I ended up speaking on 5 stages in the first half of 2022. I ended up getting to about 15 or 16 stages, I think, in 2022. And then last year, between virtual and then between in-person stuff, it was over 30. So over the course of the past couple of years, we're talking about 50 plus engagements now that I've done. I already have a couple of lined up in the next 2 months. That'll be more than I did in the first half of 2022 and all of 2021, because that first event that I threw was free to other people, something that I wanted to do to build my own stage that catapulted me into this new sphere of speaking on stage. So if you're struggling and you're like, man, I don't know where to find events, I can't find events, I'm making offers, I'm doing all these things, build your own stage. The next aspect is searching for events in your local area. So if you're like, hey, I don't have a ton of money, I can't sponsor an event, I'm not getting paid yet, do a quick online search. Literally ask who is throwing events here in the St. Louis or wherever you're located area. A lot of the events are free or cheap, etc. And then start providing value to them. Figure out how you can go get on stage. Maybe they're like, hey, if you invite 10 people and 10 people sign up, pay, etc., we'll allow you a speaking slot on our stage. Those are some creative ways in order to get more opportunities in a free aspect. The other thing is literally just make posts on social media. Everybody says that they want to go speak. I saw so many people comment on my stuff saying, hey, I want to speak. I got DMs of people that saying that they want to speak. And I'll be honest, I've been following a lot of you for a very long time. 60, 70, 80% of you I've never seen a post saying, hey, I want to speak on 5 stages here in 2024. So manifest that stuff out to the world. So then that way people know, hey, Adam is raising his hand. I can then ask him to come to my event. You would be surprised how many people might be interested in having you at an event if you just actually communicate that, right? So I'm going to stop there. I know we got a question here real quick. I'm going to take a drink of water. If you have any other questions, feel free to drop those in the chat. Feel free to also drop in the chat if this is valuable. Would love to know if you guys are getting some insights. I hope so. Looks like it. So for the paying gigs, conference sponsorships, how do you evaluate what the ROI would be? So, James, that's a great question. So obviously I know a little bit about your business and a little bit about your industry, but these are the things that I'm taking into consideration. So I'm taking into consideration the entire expense load, right? So let's just say between the sponsorship itself, let's say between all the travel, et cetera, you're bringing 2 or 3 people, however, like let's just call it 10 grand. I'm taking into account all of those things. So 10 grand at the top, right? And then I'm taking into consideration what my offer or my ticket is going to be. So again, I have no idea what you charge. I have no idea what the offers are, but let's just say that your offer is $2,000, $2,000 offer. Write that a little bit better. And then, James, what I'm doing is I'm taking into consideration what the lifetime value of our clients are on average. So let's just say it's like 13 months. Let's say it's like 13 months. So then basically doing 1.1 over that or 2.1 over that, because that's what I can expect to get paid. And maybe this is a $2K a month offer, right? Whatever it might be. So then I'm trying to figure out what is the overall amount of sales that I'm going to get over the lifetime value of that client over my expense, right? And it might not be a perfect way to do it. It's just the way that I have done it up until this point to justify what it's going to take to do that. So for example, if it's going to cost me $10,000 all in, I want to make obviously that 10 grand back. You also need to know your profit of your offer and all those things. So I want to make sure that I'm at least profiting 10K from that. And usually the first 90 days to 6 months, right? That's typically what I'm thinking about. But I'm focused on what is my offer? What am I going to be selling? What is the lifetime value of my clients as a whole? And how much cash am I going to be collecting and profit from that versus the overtopping expense? So great question. Hope that helps. If there's any other questions on that, though, feel free to obviously shoot me a DM. And again, please feel free to ask any other questions, anything else like that as we're getting ready to wrap up here. So kind of talked about all the different types of opportunities we have here, what to look for, where to look for them, all of those things, what you should be trying to get out of them, right? What they need to line up with. The big thing here is leveraging the content, right? So I'll give you an example. I went and I sponsored a local event. I'm not going to like name names of the local event, but we went to this event in May of 2022, cost us a couple grand. It was when I was still trying to speak on stage and do all the stuff and paying to see what was working and was not. And they said, oh yeah, we're going to have hundreds of people that are at this event. Well, I showed up and there was literally freaking 5 people that went to my session. And while that session was going on, there was freaking all these other sessions going on. And I couldn't even hear myself talk, right? I mean, it was bad. But what we did with that content is there were pictures of me on stage. There was video. There was all of this stuff. And you couldn't tell because like I showed up and I delivered for those 5 people that there was 5 people at that event unless you were at that event. So what I'm telling you is regardless of if there's one person in the crowd or hundreds of people in the crowd, make sure you're treating each opportunity as an opportunity to go grab content from said event, go repurpose that, and then go from there. I'll give another example. So I spoke over the summer in Costa Rica to a couple hundred digital marketing agency owners. So I wasn't paid to go to the event. I wasn't paid to speak at the event, but it was an opportunity for me to go and share the stage with Kevin Harrington, John Maxwell, Steve Weatherford, Jimmy Darts, some other really, really big names. I had nothing to sell any of the agency owners. They're all competition, right? But what I did is I did a good job, and my team did a good job of leveraging the content and consistently posting that over social media, and we're still posting about it. But that one event, because it was such a big event with some of those big names, it's got me other opportunities. People are still finding that YouTube video of my talk on stage, and it's got me more opportunities this year. But in the eyes of my consumers, because I did a good job of telling the story of why I was on stage, who I was talking to, all of those specific things, people have literally been like, Adam, if we're going to go hire a digital marketing agency, we want to hire the guy that's teaching other digital marketing agencies on how to grow and how to scale. Why would we go with somebody that isn't the guy on stage teaching people how to do what marketing agencies are supposed to do? So it's the psychology of how you're telling the story of why you're on stage, what you're doing on stage, and the importance of literally all of that. What's up, Diego? Appreciate you, man. Thanks for tuning in. You know all about the stages. All right. So Jonathan, for business coaching and consulting, should I create an event on a specialty within my expertise or just an overall business event? And should my coaching business be a niche business or a general business coaching? So I'm going to answer the second question first. The riches are in the niches. I know it's like a very cliche thing, but my recommendation is to do that with business coaching and consulting, right? So I'll give you an example like of my ideal client in the digital marketing agency sphere. So to kind of go to your question, Jonathan, I offer digital marketing through our agency to business owners. If I tell you that, hey, Jonathan, if you know any business owner that is in operation in business and if they need digital marketing, send them my way, you're going to be like, okay, yeah, a dime a dozen. But what if I told you, Jonathan, that our ideal client profile is a home service or contracting or local service-based business or multi-location that's doing at least $1 million in revenue, that's been in business for at least 3 years. They already have a CRM that's in place. They have somebody other than the owner in the company that is handling their marketing and advertising, as well as at least one salesperson. That's like literally probably, if you know somebody like that, that's painting the picture of that person or at least who to look out for. So if you tell me, Adam, like as Jonathan, if you're talking to me and you're saying, hey, Adam, I'm a business coach. If you know anybody that needs business coach helping, send them my way. I'm going to be like, okay, I don't necessarily know like who your ideal client is, what some of their key pain points are. So the more specific that you can get about explaining that, the better it's going to be. Now, going back to your event, what I would recommend is going towards a specialty, right? So when we throw our event in March, it's going to be around marketing and branding. Now, within that, there's a variety of different things we're going to talk about: podcasting, video, virtual assistants, personal branding. I don't know if I talked about that yet, or digital marketing. Like, we're going to go down that path. That's how I would do it. But I obviously don't know all of the circumstances. It might make more sense for you to throw an overall business event first if you haven't already thrown events, just to build the top of the funnel, right? I've obviously been building my brand around personal branding and digital marketing for a very long time. So when I throw an event about that, people are going to want to show up, right? So I just don't know all the details there, but great question. So somebody asked, any insights on speaking in corporate settings, navigating the HR and legal departments? So I'll be honest, that is way outside of my sphere. I can't see who wrote this for whatever reason. I don't know what's going on with StreamYard, but feel free to shoot me a message. I probably am not going to be the best person to help navigate that, but I guarantee you somebody in my network will be able to. It's a great question. I'm not typically going into corporate settings. I'm going into usually like my own events or events that are geared towards small business owners or agency owners, those types of things. So I haven't necessarily navigated that just quite yet. So we have a great point. Appreciate that. Did someone say stages? Yes. Luke said, I will land my first speaking opportunity this year. What's up, Luke? Yeah, you will, man. Excited for you. Luke's a member of our Builders of Authority Mastermind, so he's putting in the work. He's making sure he gets himself on stage this year. So that's about all I have here. Wrapping up, the only other thing I'll say is we talked about leveraging the content in order to get more opportunities. Take each opportunity to go build your network as well. So whether it's paid, whether you're paying to speak on stage or you're getting paid, spend time at those events and figure out who else throws events. People that are at events also typically throw some of their own events. Now, they might be completely separate events, meaning that it's for one industry and another, but there's usually some key decision makers there or influencers there that when you crush it on stage, you can then go shake some more hands and figure out who else can get you on their stage or somebody in their network stage. So the one that I got paid for or signed the contract, whatever, for coming up in May of this year, I literally don't even know this decision maker, but somebody in the organization on the board made a post. Who is the person that could talk to our event attendees, or however they phrased it, on social media and the importance of employees using it in the workplace professionally? I got tagged like 4 or 5 times, got on a quick call, went back and forth in DMs, got on a quick call with somebody. Then that turned into that opportunity. And then I got 2 more opportunities from other people seeing me get tagged so many times from that one opportunity. So other people are typically tagging me in posts, making connections, doing all those things because of my personal brand, because they know, and I talk about this stuff all day long. The last thing you want to do is literally be an expert in something and not talk about it, right? So if I ask you, what can you speak on stage? And you're literally like, oh, I can speak on financial literacy, or I can speak on networking, or I can speak on growing and scaling businesses, but I've never seen you talk about any of that content on social media, I'm going to be like, are you really an expert on that, right? If you're an expert on it, you should be talking about it consistently, because when you talk about it consistently, more people are just going to want to have you be there, right? And we didn't even talk about like webinars, because I didn't want to necessarily go down that rabbit hole, because that's a massive rabbit hole. But like, you can get started doing webinars. You can get started doing other people's webinars if they're throwing like an online type of event. But if you're not talking about what it is that you would be an expert on, it doesn't really matter. Nobody's going to be able to find you. So going to these events, building relationships, shaking hands, and asking the right questions. Hey, who else here throws events? Who should I be connected to? All of these people that are organizing events and scheduling speakers and all these things, they all know other people that need speakers, right? I've literally gone to events as an attendee, not even speaking on stage, be like, hey, who's the key decision maker when it comes to speaking on stage here? And they're like, oh, it's that person over there. And then I'll go talk to that person, give her my information, give him my information. I'm like, hey, who else do you know that throws other events? Just like, oh, well, let me connect you with all these other people, right? Phenomenal way to just get your name out there and do these things. But these are very, very simplistic things. I haven't done anything crazy other than manifest it to the world, take advantage of all these other opportunities, and then leverage relationships, leverage my networks, and built content around all of this stuff that I've done, right? So if you have any questions, feedback, if you're watching the replay of it, feel free to leave your comments in here. Shoot me a DM. Go into the Builders of Authority Facebook group. If you haven't joined it yet, definitely join it. Ask your questions in there. That's really where we're trying to facilitate a bunch of conversations and the questions that I would typically get in the DMs. And if you want to join our Builders of Authority Mastermind, we're going to take this training and go dive deeper tomorrow. We're going to set some goals. We're going to set some initiatives in place for our members to go get their first opportunity, their 100th opportunity, and put them in a position to be able to specifically go from free to paying for opportunities that get them a massive return on investment and ultimately get paid. So one last question. Sounds like you have opinions on webinars. That, along with podcasts, are a focus of mine this year. What are your thoughts for those as a part of building the portfolio to get social content out there for free. That's an incredible place to do it, right? So podcasting, whether it's your own podcast or being a guest on somebody else's podcast. I was a guest on somebody's podcast last night and today. I love doing that. You take that content, you repurpose it, all of those things you're talking about, your expertise, your story, why you can then go speak on stage, all of those specific things. Webinars are great. An incredible opportunity like this in technicality is like a webinar of sorts, right? So I could go send somebody, like I just did this. If somebody said, hey, Adam, could you give a talk on speaking on stage, which I'm not going to do, I could literally take this video, go send it to somebody and be like, hey, watch this 30-minute webinar that I just did on this, right? So it's a great opportunity. There's also there's also people that are out there that are like throwing an online webinar that's like a 3-day event. Those are great. I'm just not a webinar. Like I like doing those things. I like going to those things, but I really love the in-person stuff because that's made the most impact for me as an attendee. And so I like to do more of that stuff. That's where like the real stuff happens for me, but you got to get started somewhere, of course. And so all these other places, webinars, podcasts, being a guest on somebody else's podcast are incredible ways to do it. So great question, James. Awesome. Looks like Jared said good stuff, Adam. Appreciate you, Jared. Looking forward to, or JC Jared, looking forward to Sales Boost in March. So JC actually reached out to me over the weekend and was like, hey, Adam, we want you to come speak at this event that we're throwing in March. So that was, again, JC and I had known each other for a long time. We spoke on some stages in industries that are very, very similar. We're going to actually be speaking on stage together at an event, not together, but at the same event next month in Orlando. So, JC is a good example of somebody. We've been in the same ecosystem. We've had each other on podcasts. We've done a lot of stuff together. We did a webinar together on Christmas light installation digital marketing. That was awesome. That happened back in October or November of last year. And now he's asking me to be on a stage of an event he's throwing. That is social proof to a T, right? So I'll end it on that. Appreciate y'all. We'll talk to you next week. And again, if you want to join the Builders of Authority Mastermind group, it's getting ready to go up in price to double the price. So appreciate y'all. Talk to you soon. Take care.